Ohio State is set to play Texas in the opening week of the college football season that is primed to be the biggest game of the opening weekend. And there's a 99.8% chance that that game happens at noon on Fox in a big noon kickoff. And to say that Ohio State fans are pissed would be an understatement. There's a report that came out that Ohio State asked Texas, hey, instead of playing on Saturday, August 30th, would you be willing to play on Sunday, August 31st, and then that game would get moved to primetime? And Texas said no. And you know what? I don't blame Texas. I don't blame Texas for saying, no, we're not going to do that. And I think there's a variety of reasons why I don't blame Texas. Texas doesn't have to look out for Ohio State. Texas has to look out for Texas. So that's number one. Number two, why would Texas agree to move a game to a different day when it probably already, and this is one of the, I think things that people don't know about or don't see / understand about college sports, especially college football, is it takes a lot to bring a college football team on a road game. So Texas would have to alter probably 2 flights, 200 hotel rooms, catering for 200 people, all sorts of logistic stuff, all sorts of stuff that they've already paid for, that they probably can't get their money back to accommodate Ohio State. They're not going to do that. Then why would Texas agree to move a game from a noon on a Saturday where, and I don't buy into the whole the student athlete, that's poppycock. But when Texas plays Ohio State at noon on Saturday, August 30th, while it's a 99.8% chance that they are going to play that game at noon Eastern, there's also a 99.8% chance that Texas is going to sleep in their own beds on that Saturday night, which is nice. If they play in Columbus on Sunday night, the chances that they get to bed before 6 a.m. Eastern on Monday morning is pretty not likely. And then you have a short turnaround for your next game. Now, I probably should have done this before right now. I don't know who Texas plays in their week 2 game. If you give me roughly 21 more seconds, maybe not even that long, thank you, fast internet, they play San Jose State. Now, San Jose State ain't a juggernaut, right? Texas is probably not worried about preparation time for San Jose State. But they're sure not going to put themselves at a disadvantage. They're not going to give themselves less time to prepare. They're not going to purposely shorten their own week. So I don't blame Texas there. And then probably the final thing that I don't blame Texas, reason for why I don't blame Texas, is if you're going to get to play a premier game at noon instead of prime time on the road, wouldn't you take that? Wouldn't you purposely, if you had the chance virtually any time to play a road game, you'd rather do it at noon, right? So I don't think that's ridiculous. What I do think is somewhat ridiculous is I hate, and I'm going to go on a tangent here. I hate the idea that people believe that just because a game happens at night means it's a big game. If Ohio State played Texas at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning while you were at church, it's still a big game. Ohio State, Texas doesn't get bigger if it's played in prime time. And I hate this idea that, well, what about the atmosphere? The darkness outside doesn't set the atmosphere. Fans set the atmosphere. And if fans don't have the same excitement, jubilation, blood alcohol content at noon that they would have at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, that's not Fox's fault. That's not anyone's fault but the fans. And I know that the argument is always like, well, nobody wants to go play a road game at Virginia Tech during prime time. The Penn State whiteout's one of the most intimidating atmospheres in all of college football. The Penn State whiteout is intimidating because of the fans. The Penn State whiteout, if it happened at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning while you were at church, is still an intimidating spot to walk into because of the fans, not because God turned out the lights, not because the sun went down. The idea that you can't replicate the atmosphere for a primetime game at noon or 3:30 is bullshit. So I hate every time that even some game that has any semblance of being like, oh, hell, I might want to watch that. But it's going to be at noon. There's not going to be any atmosphere is dumb. That is a stupid argument. And if your argument is, I can't be as drunk for the game at noon as I could if it happened at 8 o'clock, is a dumb argument. Either wake up earlier or drink more faster. Please drink responsibly. I feel like I don't know if I'm legally liable for saying the phrase drink more faster. But if that matters to you, then that's on you, brother. That ain't on Fox to accommodate. I just hate the idea that because it's Ohio State versus Texas, that game deserves to be in primetime. No, that game deserves to be, one, played on a grass patch, roughly 120 yards long by 53 1/3 yards wide. And then two, whenever the most people would watch it. And do you know when the most people would watch it is? On Saturday at noon. That's it. That's the math equation. The idea that I could maybe get on board with the argument that it hurts recruiting for Ohio State because out-of-state commitments out-of-state recruits can't get to Columbus for a noon game after playing in their own high school football games on Friday nights, but they could for an 8 o'clock game. I can get on board with that. But if a college football prospect says, well, there's these two schools, and I like both of them a lot, but I'm going to go to this one because they play games at nighttime, and this one plays games at noon, so I'm going to choose this one. Do you really want to spend the next 4 or 5 years? And do you really want to spend before that kid gets in the transfer portal dealing with that player? Probably not. So I'll allow it might hurt recruiting. But if Ohio State can't get over the hurdle of all of the crap that comes with recruiting a kid, but you don't get to see Ohio State play Illinois at noon because the game was at noon and not 3:30. If you can't get over that hump, there's probably bigger fish to fry, probably bigger issues in the recruiting. But the idea that big noon kickoff is ruining college football has been kicking off at noon on Saturdays for 150 years. It is not being ruined by what some TV conglomerate decided they were going to prioritize as their window. Fox got into the game really late, and so they got what you could view as the short straw. And in return, they give the Big Ten and by proxy Ohio State a lot of money to play at noon. And if you have an issue with that, you're going to have to return some of that money or get drunker faster on Saturday mornings. Them's the options. But the idea that you can't replicate 8 o'clock kickoff at noon is that's wholly on you to do. So get liquored up, wake up earlier, act like a jackwagon at noon instead of at 8 o'clock. That's the options. It drives me insane every time I see it. And so I'm tired of reading the bitching. So I'm going to bitch about the bitching. I know that you're going to leave comments and tell me that I'm an idiot because Ohio State, Texas Stars beat new, goddammit. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. You feel the way you feel, and I feel the way I'll feel. Potato, tomato, we'll agree to disagree. But I do want to read your comments. So drop them in the comments below. That'll do it for this episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you get on the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.